Hi everyone, I am Erica Zakara. Nice to meet all of you. I will be talking about my reaction to Hills Like White Elephants by Ernest Hemingway. And I think it's so cool that we can all, interact with each other. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so on to business. So just like any person, I will not talk about my opinion on the matter. I'm not here to stir up any type of controversy. What I will talk about is the poor communication skills that was performed between Jig and the American boy, and how his conversation was not favorable or sentimental. And I'm also no therapist, however, I am married. And I am married to this guy who is clueless, and sometimes his communication skills are not so great. And that's the same type of reason that I decided to do the method of communication, because guys, I'm not trying to pinpoint a certain person or a certain, race or sex between anyone. But I'm just saying, mostly in this case, we're going to be talking about the guy and his communication skills. So, even though, most men are, clueless and they don't understand how to talk in a relationship, especially for something like this, a procedure that is, drastic. I'll also explain how, I had the talk with my husband at one point where when we found out that we were pregnant with our second child, after 10 months after having our first one, we weren't sure what we should do. And I didn't believe in abortion, and neither did he. However, some people are totally different, and everyone has different views and different opinions on it. So that's why I decided to address the methods of communication. And especially since I know a couple of people that also go through this as well. I have had friends and I've had, associates that had this same exact conversation, and sometimes relationships did last and sometimes they didn't. And there are some currently that I'm still trying to figure out what's going to happen in that relationship. And at the same time, having the communication, men, and in particular, my husband was very cautious of the feelings towards the relationship and how he should address the topic. So my thesis for the paper was, not everyone wants a child or feels ready enough for one. In this story, there's a young couple who face the obstacle of deciding if abortion is the best decision for them and their method of communication in this uncomfortable situation. And like I said, a lot of people just don't understand how to even confront the matter. And they don't know what to say or how to say it, or what's the right way to just address it, and what's the outcome of, the conversation. And I chose it because, as I said, I do know people that have this conversation, and I have had this conversation. And I also chose to approach the different attitudes between the character, Jig, and the American boy, and how it has not changed within the modern day. And in fact, there's still conversations, as I stated before, that are still currently going on between couples, and also, more men running away from their significant others, and because they're scared to figure out if they want to be in this relationship and stay with their relationship. And there are some people who find it, distasteful to even have the abortion, and they don't want to be a part of it, or they don't want to be involved with it. And what I did like about Hemingway's piece was, I like how he addressed the conflict in the story without really stating what it was. So we were kind of intrigued, like, is this really about abortion? Is this really about an operation that they had to travel to a different country, all the way on the other side of the world, just to have? And it left us intrigued, and it left us wanting to really know what happened and what was the outcome of it. And what I did not like about the story was there was not enough background on it. And I also didn't like the fact that Jig was very passive aggressive, and she didn't really tell the American boy how she truly felt. She didn't really say, I want to keep the baby. You know, let's talk about it more. But Hemingway portrayed the woman to be the submissive girl who was not allowed to speak for herself. And it's really unfortunate that in the 20s, that was the behavior of the women. And he really didn't portray the woman as having a heroic voice. And one critic that I saw with my last paper, and he agreed with my last statement, was from Stephen K. George. And he really brings to this statement into perspective. He says, Ernest Hemingway, throughout his career, was especially sensitive to the limitations of male language, in contrast to the intricacies and meaningful silences of the female language, a sensitivity shown most clearly in such lyric short stories as Hills Like White Elephants. Finally, another critic that he states in his statement would focus on a male and female discourse in two of the author's short stories, concludes that Hemingway's dissections of sexual politics of heterosexual relationships are dazzling in their precision and accuracy, so much that his critics may have also so often read them in ways that reveal the fault lines in their own sexual politics. And clearly, critical tides are changing within the Hemingway world concerning the issue of authors' literary sensitivity to the other sex. And here in this story, you can clearly see how Hemingway portrayed that. And by choosing this article, it is proven that many people feel the same way as I do, and that this American boy used his masculinity to manipulate her into having an abortion. And to conclude my speech, if the American boy could have changed his method of communication and dressed it differently, maybe there wouldn't be so much friction between the characters, and they could have salvaged any relationship that they had. And if the operation was in the United States, and affordable, and within the time, it could have turned out so differently. And I would leave you with this. If the American could afford this lavish trip to this, different country, couldn't he have stayed in the United States to find someone to want to do the procedure and to pay for it? Therefore, she could have stayed in the United States and recuperate, or simply be in a place that's familiar. So at that note, could we imply that this American boy is in fact married? And that's it. Bye.